time really is the highest form of currency. You have the ability to make more money. Now, time you do not. We really have to be careful about every single moment that we spend our time because we do not know how much time we have left.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. We have gone back virtual. Look, so glad that y'all are here today. We've got a subject that I know we've got some thoughts and some words and some opinions from different sides of the spectrum, and I want to bring it all out today in this. Now, I've been hearing something about having the balanced life. I've been hearing about this idea for a while now. And there was a time where I was really trying to get this balance, like really trying to figure out what this balance looks like and how it makes sense. Because I'm like, that makes sense for you to have it because it seems healthy. Before I say that, let me go to this. Mike, what do you think about a balanced life?
I think the concept is spot on. I think it's appropriate to strive towards having a balanced life. But immediately when I heard the topic, the first thing I thought about is seasons to the realization of a balanced life, right? For example, I have 4 sons. We have a newborn. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Do I have a balanced life right now? Not really, not at all. I can't say that I do, but at the same time, every day I strive towards balancing my mental space, my spiritual space, making sure that I'm not only doing profit generating activities for the business, but I'm doing the same with my family. I'm doing the same with God. So to me, that's what a balanced life means. It's not actually, I'll do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. Like most people, when you're on the incline, kind of aggressively going towards goals, there's going to be seasons where it does not feel like you're having a balanced life. But I do think you should strive towards that conceptually.
Got you. Rodney, do you feel like your life is balanced?
No. Okay. And actually, for me, a balanced life, I was like finding a unicorn. It's like, and I say that for this reason, is that it's one of those things that you strive for, like Mike said, you look to do that, you look to try to take those things that's important in your life, and you want to spend the amount of time you believe they deserve. For me, I'm just speaking for me, in reality, it seemed like I never spend the time I think the things deserve. I try to balance them out best I can, meaning that, hey, you know what? Like Mike said, I need to spend time with my wife. I need to take care of my job. I need to take care of things related to the ministry. But to me, if it was balanced, I would have each one of those things in what I would call a place where when I walk away, I'm like, okay, I don't have to come back to that for a minute. I don't have that. But maybe one day, maybe in retirement, but even then, I think you can go balance the other way where now you have nothing to do. So you really don't have balance then either, because you don't have enough purpose to have a balanced life. Your life is kind of slid towards just recreation or something. You know what I mean?
A lot of whack. Yep. Some people could say that, a balanced life is, I do X amount of work in a day. I do X amount of family time in a day, and I do X amount of leisure in a day. And then I'm well rested for that night, and I wake up and I go back to it and I get all of my life pie filled out. Like I do all of my pie chart of what I feel like is balanced. And I feel like if you're going after anything of major significance and you've got responsibility from other people, like you're responsible for other people and other things. And, you got to keep the lights on here and you got to feed this person over here. And then you got to go ahead and get this done because this person right here is going to be, and then I feel like that all takes this whole balance idea completely out of whack. So for me, I think the traditional sense of balance, meaning that you get you get enough rest and you get enough work and you get enough leisure all in the same time. I don't think that's real. And if it is, like, when you do get to that point, that means that you probably are not moving forward too much. Like you were saying, Rodney, I think, like, once you get to the point where you have all of that leisure, all of that rest, and, you know, you get all the fun too, and you can just mix it all together. At that point, I think you've pretty much decided that this is where I'm at and this is where I would like to stay. And I'm not moving forward from this from a, like a financial standpoint, from like a goal setting standpoint. It's like I've gotten to this point in my life and I'm not really moving anymore. Like, this is exactly where I want to be. But even then, like I said, the responsibilities cannot pile up in that, because as soon as they do, something is going to try to take your time. Everything's going for your time. The TV is coming for your time. Your wife is coming for your time. Your kids are coming for your time. Everything is coming for your time. So it's like trying to keep it balanced automatically means that you're saying no to some people and some things and saying yes to other things. Because in every moment we're saying yes to something and no to something else.
Time really is the highest form of currency.
Definitely.
It really is. It's not even close. And it's crazy that we're so monetarily driven. And I always tell people, like, I mean, you know, I like hearing about money goals, this, that, and the third. It is what it is. But I kind of let it, when people start talking to me about money goals, I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. But I really kind of paid no attention, because in the back of my mind, I know it will never be enough money. I've never met anybody who's like, you know what? I'm good. Like, if I don't make $1, even if you're a billionaire, you still want to keep making money, right? But that's the whole point of me bringing this up is you have the ability to make more money. Now, time, you do not. And that's the part where a lot of people, they don't keep that in its proper perspective, I believe, because we really have to be careful about every single moment that we spend our time, because we do not know how much time we have left.
Why do you believe that a billionaire still wants to make more after they've already become a billionaire?
Because I think it's the act, it's the process of generating money. Like, when you make big deals, you get the same type of adrenaline rush that you get, like, if you scored a really big touchdown in the big game. Like, it does something to you, like, you know, chemically, like your endorphins go crazy, and it's like a high. I mean, essentially, it's like you're chasing that high. You gotta really, like, be spiritually grounded, because you can be having all the worldly success and just be feeling empty on the inside. So, just to answer your question, I think the reason why nobody's ever satisfied with an amount is just because it's an addiction almost to the process of getting more money.
You know, there's that cliche quote of, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And so, like, but in reality, though, all of that journey is the chase of a thing, like going after something. There's a certain drive that comes from, there's a certain energy that you get in the pursuit of something major. And so in that process, you decide, okay, so I've conquered this mountain. Now it's time to conquer another one, because I don't want to stop. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But Rodney, I want to ask you a question, because Mike did bring up a good point. There's a scripture that came up that you made me think of, Psalms 90, 12. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. So tell me, in this balanced life structure or outside of it, how are you factoring in that Psalms 90, 12? How are you conceptualizing balance, but also numbering your days?
You know, it's funny you brought that up, because Mike had said something earlier that I thought was, like, really important. And he said it fast, but I hope people got it. And it goes to what you just said. He's like, you know, you can get more money, but you can't get more time. And that's a fact. And so when you talk about numbering your days, and the wisdom that comes with doing that is understanding that concept that you will not get more time. I mean, once that day is gone, there's no, like, rewind and going back to say, hey, I'm going to go back to a Tuesday and figure out what I did wrong. You know, now with money, you're like, hey, you make a mistake, boom, you know what? You you can say, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to invest in this. And you can get back to where you were and even exceed it. But time don't work that way. So it is the most important commodity we have. And I remember having a class and I was reading this book, this author, this guy, and I might have told you guys this before, he figured the average person lives to 75 years old, something like that. So he put on the calendar how many days that would be for him from the age he was at the time. I think he might have been 20 something. And each day he crossed off a day.
Wow.
And so as he's got into his 50s, he started to see that he has less days than he's lived. So it gave him an everyday perspective that he need to make every day count.
That's pretty wild. You don't want to waste a day. But I feel like for some people that looks different than for other people. Like, what does it actually mean to waste a day, in your opinion?
Well, to me, waste a day is you haven't got anything accomplished on your list. Meaning that, and we all got a list. I believe we should have one. Okay, if our list is just to sleep, get up, watch TV, that's somebody's list. But that's their business. So I use it like yesterday. For me, yesterday, I'm like, I need to work out. Now I got to the end of the day, and in my mind, like, just get up and do it tomorrow, or get it. I'm like, no, I need to work out. I had an hour, and that hour could have been watching football or work out. So I was trying to get this app going. It wouldn't work. Everything was getting in my way, and I wanted to quit. But I said, I can't waste this time. I can't. Yeah, I can't. Exactly. So I can't waste it. And I got it in. So I got me, instead of an hour, I got about maybe 40 minutes in, but I got it in.
And that's what it's about sometimes, just building momentum. Like even, I was telling my son last night, he wasn't really feeling well. I know he wasn't feeling well. And I'm like, listen, man, it's a difference between being injured and being hurt. And I looked at it as an opportunity for me to kind of help guide him because we had wrestling practice. And he knows how wrestling practice goes hard. It's not, ain't nobody going to ease up because you got a tummy ache. Like, you got to plow through. But I'm like, if you show up and you keep your momentum going, you may be surprised at the type of performance that you have. And, God has a funny way of showing us, providing evidence when we need some evidence. And sometimes we're not going to see that evidence, but it's okay. This particular moment, he gave us some evidence, like he had a pretty good practice. And I connected the dots like, listen, if we never showed up because of whatever's going on, you wouldn't have been there. Basically, what we're saying is if we don't honor our commitments based on how we feel, that impacts who we are as men. And that's not the type of men we are. That's where I see a lot of people, like you're talking about wasting days. It's like, you've committed 2 years to this, it didn't work out. Now you want to switch to something else. Or not even 2 years. I'm giving people 2 minutes credit. You committed 6 months.
Let's be real.
It didn't work out. And now you want to scrap it. It's like, okay, so now you have to go back to where you were. So you're wasting more time. Try to figure out something else that you're probably going to end up quitting in the middle of that. Also, because you haven't developed the muscle of tenacity to be able to just stay committed and just keep going.
Adam wasn't put on this earth just to chill out, just to have a good time. Like it's a part of who we are and what we were, our purpose. Like why we are here, to be committed to something. It's part of our makeup to actually have a focus, to actually to have self-control, to have discipline in our lives. And so I think when we talk about balance, you get unbalanced when you decide that you don't have enough commitments. I think it's really important for a male, like an actual man, to actually have responsibilities. Because when you don't, y'all let me know, but I've seen dudes like you kind of go off the rails when you've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dangerous spot to have nothing to do and nothing on your hands, nothing to wake up for, nothing to live for, like nothing to really go after every single day, nothing that's keeping you up and keeping you driven. Because when you don't, you kind of just stay in like a cycle, and that cycle gets really dangerous because Now you've got all sorts of pleasures that you're going after instead of a goal. You got, things that are wasting your time versus things that are going to make the time worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now you keyed something too when you said that, Martell, because you're absolutely right. Along with that, I think if you can not have balance if you one dimensional too. I think about how I'm thinking about athletes for a minute here. There's an athlete, most of them, not all, will dedicate their time and effort to one thing. As they become pro, they focus on one sport. They focus on everything is around that sport. And I'm using them as an example, but if they're not careful, they won't have a balanced life because their whole life is going to be centered on that one thing potentially. Okay.
Yeah.
And what sometimes you see when their career is over with in that sport, it's like, hey, what do I do now? I haven't really prepared. Mm-hmm. And that is true for, working in the corporate world too. I see it. Mike and I talked about this before too, where some people, their whole life was the company. And then they get to the point where they retire and it's like, what do I do now? And they fear retirement because they don't have balance in their life, meaning they don't have a diverse list of things to do to balance them out.
I know that need for young men especially, but I think young women too, but I know young men, they need to have constructive outlets that push them further. Is so inherent because you can literally watch like toddlers and they'll be practicing things and they'll be trying to get better. We're wired that way. It's already in us. So what happens is, I think as you go on in life, if you stray away from how you're naturally wired, like you said, Martell, that's how you get off the rails and things start kind of going downhill fast. And to your point, Rodney, as far as the work, that we talked about this in Men 2.0 before, where if your foundation gets off balance, what you worship tends to get swayed. And in that instant, you end up worshiping the God of work. You're putting everything into this thinking it's going to yield, but it never does. It's just like chasing the money. Like, that's never going to give you fulfillment because the work doesn't care about the work. Not going to show up to your funeral after you passed and be crying over your cat. It's just one of those things. Like, no matter how great you were, like I think about instantly Steve Jobs, amazing at his work, but he couldn't improve his health. He went on a steep decline. It's like, work is work. We love to do it. We love the fruit that yields from work. But at the same time, it's important to keep it in perspective.
There were people who front loaded their life with high priority, high achievement, high work ethic. Like, they needed to get it done and they committed almost all of their time to it. Like, it was for most people, it would be considered irrational. Like, they front loaded their life with all of the things that they needed to do. When we're talking about like a Tyler Perry, who was doing 300 plays in a year. There's only 365 days in a year. 300 plays in a year. Like, I'm talking scripting it, finding the people, rounding up the crew, traveling across the country and doing these plays daily, on a daily basis. Like, there's no rest. There's no, I'm just going to take it easy, whatever. He front loaded that joint, and then look at him now. Now he has all the opportunity that he wants to go, and he could just stop doing stuff. But, he's not going to do that because there's a drive inside of him to keep going. And it's not so much a dollar thing like we were talking about earlier. It's more of an achievement thing. It's more of a commitment thing. It's more of a contribution thing. And so what I've noticed is the people who front load in their beginning years, they decide that I'm going to commit myself to a thing. And what I've noticed is when people have it like that, it's like the more you put in the front, the less energy, the less effort you need on the back end of it. But when you try to, and I've seen people do this, and I'm sure we've all seen people do this, when you try to shortcut the work, when you try to shortcut the time of actually getting things done, and you say, you know what, for these years, while I'm in my 20s and while I'm in my, my younger ages, I'm going to say that I'm just going to do whatever I feel like doing. I'm going to go party as much as I can. I'm going to go hang out as much as I can. I'm going to do as many leisure things as I can because you know what? I'm young and I can go out and get it. And yeah. And when you do that, the thing is, you still going to have to make up that work because it didn't go anywhere. And so either you've decided that you're going to have an even level of energy and effort throughout your entire life, or you're going to front load it with a lot of the work, and then you'll be able to take it. You'll have the opportunity to take it a little bit easier on the back end. That's what I've noticed. And I've committed myself to this idea because I truly believe that there's going to be a point in time where I can just disappear from the planet and everybody's still going to be taken care of because I built it. I spent so much of my time, effort, energy, and my life building the thing that I'm committed to.
Well, I wish I met you brothers back when I was in college because I was that other guy. I was partying, getting it on in my early age. But I mean, I joke a little bit, but I'm serious too. Hearing you kind of go through that kind of just triggered me back to, investments, the law of compounding interest, right? So if you start saving money, the earlier you start to save money and you invest it in the market or wherever you are, that something's going to yield return, it's going to grow exponentially over time because as you put it, if you front load as much as you can and invest, it's going to pay more on the back end because it's got more years to grow and mature and that compounding interest build up versus you taking twice as much, putting it away 15 years later. It's just, it just will not get there as fast. And I take the concept that you talked about front loading, like, okay, you're using wisdom. You know where you got time to use. How you allot that time is up to you. So now you're saying, hey, look, I'm going to dedicate as much of my time to these items that I feel are going to pay dividends later.
I was that guy too, right? I was spending more, my time. When I was 25, like I tell you, like, bro, I was not on a 6 a.m. call with the brothers. So, it was just not like that. But what I'm starting to realize is everything happens for a reason. And this is, had I not had some of those experiences and being fully authentic in that season of my life, I wouldn't be able to touch certain people now. Like when people see where I'm at now, it's certain people that I have conversations with that they tell me straight up, like, coming from you, I'm going to listen. I'm going to have to because they know the transition that I've been on. 90% of the people listening, they need to just hear that. And that's it. Just work, do more grind, be more structured because most people are just hanging out. But for the people that are ultra focused on work, I do think it's important to have some, going back to that balance mindset. You do have to have life experience also. It can't just be work because the life experience is a part of the work. It's going to make your work so much more better because you know how to deal with diversity in people. One thing that I can truly say I've been blessed with, I've been gifted with, and it's kind of like my superpower where I know how to deal with people. I've dealt with all types of people in my work, in my life, literally all types. And I'm good with that. And I started to realize everybody does not possess that skill set. Like, it's kind of like my superpower. I can literally go in any environment and deal with people. And I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't have had the confidence to do that had I not had some of my life experiences.
What does a balanced life look like to you? After all that we've said, what does a balanced life look like to you?
So I'll jump in. So me personally, a balanced life is mind, body, and soul. I do a little bit for the mental. I do a little bit for the spiritual, which is my soul, and I do some for my physical. And a part of my mental and spiritual is like the family's incorporated there. A part of the body part, the entrepreneurship, the work is incorporated in there. So to me, I always try to go back to that. I think of it like almost like the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, like, like stay balanced in those three areas, mind, body, and soul. And that's kind of what it looks like for me.
God got to be my first priority. So there has to be, for one, getting up, praying, reading, making sure I'm giving him that first fruit in the morning, and then I'm working towards his goal, whether in the ministry, wherever he takes me, but definitely in the ministry and serving. Then my wife, in this case, my family, but my wife and my family, my job, whatever I'm doing and committed to. And then those commitments I've made, whether it be to help others or to be part of something, or so that's my balance. Hey, what have taking those things. So if one thing like something comes up, God tells me to do something, then those other priorities got to get pushed a little bit. And I use a good example, like my dad has been going through some stuff the last few days. So, hey, that shifted things. I'm like, hey, look, boom, move that car. Hey, let's see what's going on with Pops, and get that sorted out. So that's how I lay out. That's my balance, and that's my priority list. So.
Got you. For right now, a balanced life looks like being committed to the season that God has you in, and being very clear about what your assignment is and your responsibility is in that season. Because for me, I need to get to it. So I'm in a season of getting up and getting to it, period. Like that means that I'm going to go get my Jesus in for my day, but I'm also going to get the work in. Okay. And rest, leisure time, like how much leisure time I have is not the highest priority. I'm still making sure that I'm planting the seeds in the right area, meaning, I've got the seeds and I'm nurturing a relationship so that does grow. But for right now, I'm not trying to take the most time that I can to just chill out and hang for myself. It's the relationship isn't necessarily a thing that I'm going after for leisure. It's because there's a purpose for it. There's a bucket that it fills in my life. There's a void that it fills in my life, and I know that if it's cultivated right, then it's gonna reap some great fruits. And so that's important to me. So in this season, it's just understanding where I am, what's important right now in this moment, and making sure that I'm fully committed to it, but also flexible enough so that if God says we going left, then I'm ready to go left, drop whatever it was that was right and go right with it to do what I'm supposed to be doing. And so that's balance to me. So I think we all are in agreement that if you think that just chilling out for most of your day and having the freedom and flexibility to do everything that you want whenever you feel like doing it, however you feel like doing it, and not factoring in any work and other people or responsibilities, then your concept of balance is way off. So with that being said, we all have this thing. We got a group of fellas. Y'all was talking about it earlier today about a prayer call that you was on. I know there's a particular individual that's on that call, that leads that call, who's a part of this group. Mike, you want to tell us about that group?
Yeah, so the group is called Men 2.0. Every second Saturday of every month, we come in, we congregate with the fellas. We love the sisters, and there is a platform called Lift for the Sisters, but our platform is Men 2.0. It's at a co-working space in Ferndale, Michigan, called Incubizo. And we just meet and we kick it, man. It's 2 hours, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it all goes back to that iron sharpens iron. You got to be around the right type of people to keep you accountable, to keep you motivated, to keep you inspired. Every time I leave the meeting, I feel energetic. I feel inspired. So we invite you to come join us.
Thank you for that. And hey, if you like this episode, if you like this podcast, please go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we come out with a new episode. And if you like this episode, you're going to love the one on your screen. And we will see you there. Peace.
Peace.